This evening we are devoting our subject to the problem of superconscious cognition. In the first place, as we usually attempt to do at least, we must clarify our terms and understand in common our attitude on these rather abstract matters. When we think of the extrasensory band of human faculties or of spiritual apperceiving powers within man, such as clairvoyance and telepathy, we use general terms which perhaps are not sufficiently precise or exact to indicate the large variety of phenomena with which we are concerned. And when we see a person or become aware that an individual has performed some feat which appears to imply a kind of knowledge or perceiving power beyond our own, it is so easy simply to say, well, I guess he's psychic, or perhaps he's a clairvoyant. And having come to this conclusion, also conclude that we have said something. Actually, we've said nothing. Yet, seldom if ever do we require any further discussion of the matter. We feel very secure in our discovery and act as though we have really made a pronouncement of importance. Actually, what we generally consider this extrasensory gamut is made up of a universe of factors which we do not know very much about. It is quite probable that one so-called telepathic effect could be produced by any one of 100 or more causes, all somewhat different, many totally different. Thus, we are actually on the threshold of a world of values which we have not explored, about which we have very little common thinking and almost no common terminology. Under such conditions, it may well invite us to think through some of the levels of this problem this evening in an effort to maybe clarify or distinguish a little more clearly some of the problems and factors which must sometime become part of our general scientific knowledge, because we are moving inevitably in the direction of the recognition of an extrasensory band in the human pattern of cognition faculties. First of all, how are we to judge what constitutes the normal sensory gamut? Are we sure that we all hear the same thing when we listen to sound? If we all hear the same thing, what is the individual's place in nature who is tone deaf? Unless someone points out this tone deafness to him, he may go along for a considerable time without recognizing its existence. I also know persons who are colorblind. Now, when they are so colorblind that certain complete patterns are eliminated, and they are unable to tell the difference between a green light and a red light in traffic, they generally find out their difficulty rather quickly. But how many degrees of color blindness pass unconsidered and unnoticed? Now, it is told me some years ago that a very great painter could distinguish about 475 shades of red. How many can we distinguish? Well, perhaps red, vermilion, carmine, and all the colors that are not red. How much can we really say our faculties reveal to us? Also, what circumstances might cause faculties to change or be in one way or another distorted? Further than this, how do we know to what degree our sensory perceptions are influenced by preconceptions or by attitudes of our own? We say that persons can develop a blind spot if they do not want to see something. Now, this does not literally mean in most cases that they are not able to visually register the object. They may be blind to its meaning, but can they be blind to the object itself? Under hypnosis, yes, definitely. They can be told that a certain object is not there. If they believe what they are told, they are absolutely unable to see the object, although it is there. Or they may be told that an object is there which is not there, and they will be able to see it. Under hypnosis, an individual can listen to music that is not being played and hear it. What is he hearing? The person under hypnotic suggestion who sees the living room rug turn into a mill pond, but take off his shoes and stockings and wade around in the water, what kind of water is it? To him it is wet and cold, but to no one else is it even visible. Thus it we know that under suggestions of various kinds, it is perfectly possible to see something that is not there. It is also possible to see something there which has no existence, or not to see something that has existence. The same of odor, the same of the sense of touch. It is perfectly possible for an individual to feel something touching his body which does not exist, if he is told it, and is willing to believe what he is told. Thus our sensory perceptions are constantly being conditioned by a kind of suggestion. If under hypnosis an individual is told that his deceased relative comes into the room and shakes hands with him, he will see that relative come in and will shake hands with that relative and feel that that relative's hand in his own is just as solid as his own hand, yet there is no one there. We know this is true. Therefore, we know that we can see persons not present. We know we can be made to see animal forms or monsters that are not present. We know also that we can be caused to feel or believe that we have journeyed into another place. And the individual can be caused to believe completely and entirely that he has left his living room and has gone to Paris and is in the elevator riding up to the top of the Tour Eiffel or Eiffel Tower. He can be made to see this, believe it, and know it, and can be caused to be so certain of it that no doubt whatever remains in his own mind. What happens? We know, therefore, that the sensory perceptions can be influenced. And we know that the principal influencing factor is suggestion. We also know that it is perfectly possible for the mind to be influenced by association and fear. The man walking in the forest sees a broken twig or stick on the path, thinks that it may be a serpent, and immediately he sees a serpent. But in the flippantness of a second look assures him that it is not a serpent, so he continues on his way. But for the instant, he is fully certain that the stick is the serpent he suspected it of being. This phenomenon is too frequently recorded not to be noted and recognized. Always then we have some mysterious power which we generally regard as a suggestion power. This can not only affect our thoughts, but it can affect our sensory reflexes of sight, hearing, and sound, taste, and touch. The sense of smell, by which we can smell odors that have no existence, simply by being told that they exist. I've also seen and participated in experiments in which color blindness was instantaneously produced, so that the individual, under suggestion, lost all color consciousness of blue or red or yellow, and when shown an infinite variety of articles, described them without this color. And for instance, when shown, we will say for the moment that blue was eliminated from his mind. When shown an object of the color of green, instantly identified it as yellow. He lost the blue factor. Doing this repeatedly under all kinds of tests, it would not be possible for it to be fabricated successfully. And there was no motive. So we know that these productions of the mind must be taken under consideration, especially when we are further aware that everyone is constantly suggesting to himself something of that which he desires, or against of which he has prejudices, or about which in some way or other he does not have a completely neutral and therefore factual attitude. The second thing that then we have to also consider is, in addition to this factor of suggestion, the degree of perception interference which we have in ordinary problems of observation. The individual today perceives upon two levels simultaneously. He perceives factually and he perceives psychologically. He sees two ways at the same time. He sees what there is and he sees what interests him. And these things are two different factors in many instances. Is the mind hastening on to a desired perception, seeing what